All right, so this is a lesson on manic depression, how to play manic depression on the bass. Manic depression is a little bit hard to learn because Hendrix and the bass player Noel Redding tuned down to E flat to record this song, but they didn't tune down exactly to E flat. They just tuned to something that was kind of close to E flat. And so that makes it even harder because you can't even really tune to E flat with a tuner and then still play along. It still doesn't sound right. But this is how to play it. I'm not including perhaps some of the subtleties, but you can get through this song just perfectly in a cover band playing it like this. So our first measure, a couple things about the tune are that it's in 3/4 time rather than the usual 4/4 time that most rock is in. And it's also in swing time. So instead of eighth notes being like this, 1 and 2 and 3 and, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and like that. So quarter notes, however, are exactly the same as they would normally be. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that was the first measure, and that just goes 5, 6, 7 on the A string, followed by a full bar rest, so a 3-beat rest after that, and then 3 more quarter notes, 1, 2, 3 on the D string. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's our first 3 bars, and that's our intro. So then we have this ostinato pattern, which goes. 1, 2 and 3 and 2, 2 and 3 and 3, 2 and 3 and 4, 2 and 3 and. So it does that just 4 times. I played it more than 4 times just then. I'm playing with a pick right now because I've got fingernails, and they're weak fingernails, so they're not really suited to playing the bass at this time, my fingers. So when I play with a pick, it sounds a little weird. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it on the recording. It sounds a little weird if the A string doesn't get muted, sort of when you're playing the dee-da-dee-da parts. So what I'm doing with my thumb, my right-hand thumb, is as I go to the D string, I'm nicking, and I don't know if there's any way to really see it on the bass, but I'm nicking with this just side of my thumb here. I'm nicking the A string with it, so it's muting the A string, probably not entirely, but enough that it doesn't really clash with the other sounds. So just my joint, the joint part of my thumb is touching the A string as I play the D string. So anyway, so that's the first 7 bars, or the intro and the first 4 bars of the verse. And then we have this really cool bit. Goes into that. So what we have here is we've got these 2 major arpeggios. First is an A major arpeggio. You can play it a couple of different ways. The way that I played it was just then, though, was with the open A string, then taking my 3rd finger and playing the 7th fret of the E string, doing grace note, quarter note slide up to the 9th fret, which puts my 1st finger in position to grab the 7th fret of the A string. You can do it with all fretted notes too. You can start at the 5th fret of the E string, which is of course the same as the open A, and you're still gonna do everything else just the same. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that's the same as doing this. Just that sort of regular major arpeggio, but it's cooler. It sounds cooler because of the slide. That sounds way better than just this, right? So, all right, that sounds much better. Anyway, so you can do it either way. On the sheet music, I wrote it as an open A, but know that it doesn't have to be. It can be the 5th fret of the E, going to the 7th fret, slide to the 9th, putting your 1st finger in position to grab the 7th. We do the same arpeggio. There's no open string option here. You can't use the open G because the octave is the wrong octave. So you have to do all closed fingerings here. And that's going to be 3, 5, slide to 7, puts your 1st finger on the 5th fret, and And then we've got an eighth note here at the end, the and of 3. So that's going to get counted 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, just like the very first measure. 5, 6, 7 on the A string, all quarter notes. So here's the whole thing, all from the very get-go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, rest 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and 2, 2, and 3, and 3, 2, and 3, and 4, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. That's where we are. Then you've got this ostinato part again. For 4 bars, just like we had it at first. And then we have this part again, the arpeggios, the A major and the G major arpeggios. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And then we have the ostinato parts again, but only 3 bars, and then there's a variation on the 4th bar. And you can see that's written on the sheet music as being the first and second ending of the repeat in the middle of the page. So that's going to go 1, 2, and 3, and 2, 2, and 3, and 3, 2, and 3, and here comes the variation, 1, 2, and 3. So that is going to be open A, 7, 5 on the D, then back to the A string, 7, sliding down to nowhere on the A. And you can see I've noted that it slides down to nowhere by putting an X at the end of the slide. How do you make a slide not sound like it ended up somewhere like I just did? Like not that, but this. The way that you do it, in case you don't know, is you're going to use your right hand to silence the string while your left hand is still moving, and then you take your left hand away after it's silenced. So there we go. That brings us to the next part of the song. The music, sweet music, drops from my fingers. So that's going to go 1, 2, 3. So that's the same arpeggio that we've been playing, but it's from the open E. So it's open E, slide 2 to 4 with your 3rd finger or your pinky, and then 2nd fret on the A string for that. That gets you that E major arpeggio. Then the G major arpeggio, exactly the same as we played it before, including the 8th note on the and of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we've got this really cool part. We've got a new rhythm that we haven't seen yet, a dotted quarter followed by 3/8. So that's going to be 1, 2, and 3, and here it is again. 1, 2, and 3, and that's the 5th fret of the A string alternating with the 7th fret of the low E string. 1, 2, and 3, and then we've got the next measure goes 1, 2. 1, 2, and that's a dotted quarter there as well. So if you kind of see all of those 7s and 5s together, even though they bridge the end of one measure and then all of another measure and then the beginning of the next measure, it's going to be, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1. One more time. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2. And then we're going to use our first finger. It's going to kind of trace the A string down to the 2nd fret, and we're going to go 2s and 3s now on the A string. That's going to go and 3 and 1 and 2 and here it is again. 1, 2, 1, 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and then we're going to bring our 2nd finger to the 3rd fret of the low E of the E, and then you're going to go 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and so all 2s and 3s there again. 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and now your first finger's already on the low E string, so there's no real point in going to the open A like I did before. So you're going to go to play that A major arpeggio again. 1, 2, 3, and then back to the G major arpeggio again, and it's again the same thing as before the other 2 times. The G major arpeggio with the 8th note at the end on the end of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then we just go right back to the beginning. On the page it says DC, which means da capo, which means go back to the beginning. And then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here it is, just the 2nd part that starts music, sweet music on the open E. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 1, and 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3. Manic depression is a search in my soul. And as you can see, it's a little bit hard to sing sometimes and do that at the same time, but there it is. One more time, all the way from the top. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3, and 3. 2 and 3, and 4. 2 and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 2. 2 and 3, and 3. 2 and 3, and 4. 2 and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3, and 2. 2 and 3, and 3. 2 and 3, and 4. 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2 and 3, and 1, 2 and 3, and 1 and 2 and 3, and 1 and 2 and 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Da 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 da. 1, 2, 3. Thanks for playing.